The unexpected discovery. The vast expanse of Kepler 186 stretched out before Dr. Ilara Chen, a seemingly endless sea of rust-colored sand and jagged rock formations. The exoplanet's dim red sun hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. Ilara adjusted her environmental suit's settings, grateful for the protection it offered against the planet's harsh atmosphere. As the lead xenobiologist on the first manned expedition to this distant world, Ilara felt the weight of humanity's hopes and dreams on her shoulders. 6 months of meticulous exploration had yielded fascinating geological data, but the ultimate prize, evidence of extraterrestrial life, had thus far eluded her team. Ilara's comm unit crackled to life. Base to Chen. Status report. She sighed, knowing Captain Riker would be disappointed by another day without significant findings. Chen here. Nothing new to report, I'm afraid. Just more sand and. A flicker of movement caught her eye, barely visible in the gathering gloom of the alien twilight. Ilara's heart raced as she squinted, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Hold that thought, Base, she said, her voice tight with sudden excitement. I may have something here. Ignoring the captain's confused reply, Ilara activated her suit's enhanced visual sensors and began to carefully pick her way across the rocky terrain. As she drew closer, the source of the movement came into focus, and Ilara felt her breath catch in her throat. There, huddled against the base of a towering crimson spire, was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. It was small, no larger than a Terran house cat, with a body covered in iridescent scales that shimmered in the fading light. 6 spindly limbs ended in delicate, multi-jointed appendages, and a pair of gossamer thin wings lay folded against its back. But it was the creature's eyes that truly captivated Ilara. 3 luminous orbs arranged in a triangle on its face, each a swirling nebula of deep purples and vibrant greens. Those eyes now fixed upon her, filled with a mixture of fear and something else. Intelligence? Curiosity? My God, Ilara breathed, her scientific training momentarily forgotten in the face of this extraordinary discovery. She took another step forward, her hand outstretched in what she hoped was a non-threatening gesture. The creature flinched, pressing itself further against the rock face. It was then that Ilara noticed the angry red gash running along its side, oozing a viscous, silvery fluid. The xenobiologist's heart ached at the sight of the injured being. It's okay, she murmured, knowing the creature couldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone might convey her intentions. I'm not going to hurt you. Ilara's mind raced as she considered her options. Protocol dictated that she should report her finding immediately and await further instructions. But a glance at the darkening sky and the creature's obvious distress made her hesitate. Whatever had wounded this being might still be out there, and night on Kepler 186f brought its own set of dangers. Making a split-second decision, Ilara slowly unclipped the specimen container from her belt. It wasn't ideal, but it would have to do. She inched closer to the alien, murmuring soft reassurances. Come on, little one, she coaxed. Let's get you somewhere safe. To her amazement, the creature's resistance seemed to crumble, whether from exhaustion, pain, or some inexplicable understanding. It allowed Ilara to gently scoop it into the container. As soon as the lid was secure, Ilara turned and began to quickly retrace her steps back to the rover. Base, this is Chen, she called over the comm. Prepare the quarantine lab. I'm bringing in a live specimen. The response was immediate and filled with a mixture of excitement and concern. Chen, did you say live specimen? What's its status? Are you taking proper containment precautions? Ilara clambered into the rover, carefully securing the specimen container. Affirmative on all counts, Captain. It's injured but stable. I'm en route now. ETA 20 minutes. As she guided the rover across the alien terrain, Ilara couldn't help but glance repeatedly at her precious cargo. The creature had curled into a tight ball, its wings wrapping protectively around its body. Despite the gravity of the situation, Ilara felt a smile tugging at her lips. After months of disappointment, they had finally made first contact, and in a way none of them could have predicted. The journey back to the base passed in a blur of adrenaline and anticipation. As the massive dome of the research station came into view, Ilara saw a flurry of activity around the airlock. News of her discovery had clearly spread quickly. She brought the rover to a stop and was immediately surrounded by her fellow scientists, all clamoring for a glimpse of the alien life form. But it was Captain Riker who pushed through the crowd, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice stern, "I hope you realize the enormity of what you've done. Bringing an unknown alien species into our base could have catastrophic consequences." Ilara met his gaze steadily. "With all due respect, Captain, leaving it out there to die would have been a far greater mistake. This is what we came here for, to make contact, to learn." Riker held her gaze for a long moment before sighing. "You're right, of course, but we'll need to take every precaution. Dr. Patel," he called to the team's xenobiologist, "prepare the containment lab. Full decontamination protocols." As Ilara carefully transferred the specimen container to a hovering gurney, she noticed the creature stirring. Those mesmerizing eyes fixed on her once more, and she felt a strange connection, as if some unspoken understanding passed between them. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Ilara watched anxiously as Dr. Patel and his team worked to stabilize the alien's condition, using a combination of Earth-based medical techniques and hastily adapted alien biology theories. To everyone's relief, the creature seemed to respond well to their treatments, its wounds slowly beginning to heal. As the initial frenzy of the discovery settled into a more measured scientific curiosity, Ilara found herself drawn back to the containment lab time and time again. She observed the alien's behavior, marveling at its apparent intelligence and adaptability. It seemed to be learning about its new environment at an astonishing rate, manipulating simple tools and even attempting to communicate through a series of melodic chirps and color changes in its scales. On the third day after the creature's arrival, Ilara was reviewing some data when an alarm blared through the base. She rushed to the containment lab, her heart pounding. Had something gone wrong? Was the alien ill? What she found instead left her speechless. The creature had somehow managed to bypass the lab's security systems and was hovering near the ceiling, its gossamer wings humming softly. But instead of trying to escape, it seemed to be waiting. As Ilara entered, those tricolored eyes locked onto her. The alien slowly descended, landing gracefully on the examination table. It extended one of its limbs towards her, the appendage morphing into a shape that bore an uncanny resemblance to a human hand. With trembling fingers, Ilara reached out and made contact. The moment their hands touched, a jolt of energy surged through her, and her mind was suddenly flooded with alien thoughts and emotions. Images of a distant world, vastly different from Kepler 186f, flashed before her eyes. She saw great cities of crystalline spires, felt the joy of soaring through purple skies, and experienced the crushing sorrow of a civilization in decline. As quickly as it began, the connection faded. Ilara staggered back, gasping for breath. The alien chirped softly, a sound that somehow conveyed both apology and gratitude. "My God," Ilara whispered, her mind reeling from the implications of what she'd just experienced. "You're not from here, are you? You're a refugee." The creature's scales rippled in a pattern that Ilara now recognized as affirmation. Somehow, this being had traveled across the vast reaches of space, perhaps fleeing some great calamity, only to find itself stranded on this harsh alien world. As the reality of the situation sank in, Ilara felt a fierce determination well up inside her. This wasn't just a scientific discovery anymore. It was a call to action. Humanity's first contact with an alien species would not be marked by fear or hostility, but by compassion and understanding. "Don't worry," she said softly, reaching out to gently stroke the alien's shimmering scales. "We'll figure this out together. You're not alone anymore." As if in response, the creature's wings unfurled, casting a dazzling array of colors across the sterile white walls of the lab. In that moment, Ilara knew that everything was about to change. The boundaries of human knowledge were about to be expanded in ways she could scarcely imagine, all because she had chosen to help a small, wounded alien on a distant world. The intercom crackled to life, startling them both. "Dr. Chen to the command center," Captain Riker's voice announced. "We're picking up some unusual readings from orbit. You're going to want to see this." Ilara's eyes widened as she looked back at her alien companion. Could it be? Had others come searching for this lost traveler? As she hurried towards the command center, Ilara's mind raced with possibilities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain: humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. Forging an unlikely bond. Dr. Ilara Chen's footsteps echoed through the corridors of the research base as she hurried towards the command center. Her mind was still reeling from the telepathic connection she had just experienced with the alien creature. The weight of this unprecedented first contact pressed heavily upon her, mingling with a growing sense of anticipation about the unusual readings Captain Riker had mentioned. As the doors to the command center slid open, Ilara was greeted by a scene of controlled chaos. Scientists and technicians huddled around holographic displays, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow of data streams and sensor readouts. Captain Riker stood at the center of it all, his normally stoic expression betraying a hint of concern. "Dr. Chen," he said, motioning her over. "Take a look at this." Ilara leaned in, her eyes widening as she took in the holographic representation of Kepler 186's orbit. A massive object, easily the size of an Earth aircraft carrier, had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. "Is that a ship?" she breathed, scarcely able to believe what she was seeing. Riker nodded grimly. "It appears so. It just dropped out of what we can only assume is some form of faster-than-light travel. We're not detecting any signs of aggression, but they're not responding to our hails either." Ilara's mind raced. Could this be connected to the small alien she had rescued? Were these its people, come searching for their lost companion? Or was this an entirely different species, drawn to Kepler 186f by the same scientific curiosity that had brought humanity here? Before she could voice any of these thoughts, alarms began blaring throughout the base. Red warning lights bathed the command center in an ominous glow. "Sir," one of the technicians called out, "we're detecting multiple smaller craft launching from the ship. They're heading straight for us." Riker's face hardened. "Initiate lockdown procedures. All personnel to their designated safe zones. Dr. Chen, I need you to." But Ilara was already moving, her feet carrying her swiftly back towards the containment lab. She couldn't explain it, but she knew with certainty that the alien she had rescued was the key to understanding what was happening. As she burst into the lab, she found the creature hovering anxiously near the ceiling, its scales flickering with rapid color changes that seemed to convey distress. "It's okay," Ilara said, trying to project calm despite her own racing heart. I think your people might be here." The alien's tricolored eyes fixed on her, and Ilara felt a gentle probe at the edges of her consciousness. Taking a deep breath, she opened her mind, allowing the creature to form the telepathic link they had shared earlier. Immediately, her mind was flooded with a torrent of alien thoughts and emotions. Fear, relief, and an overwhelming sense of urgency washed over her. Images flashed through her mind. A dying world, a desperate flight across the stars. Pursuers that seemed more machine than alive. As the connection faded, Ilara staggered, gripping the edge of a nearby console for support. The realization hit her like a physical blow. The ships in orbit weren't rescuers. They were hunters. "We have to hide you," she gasped, her eyes darting around the lab. But where? The base's defenses were designed to keep things out, not conceal what was within. The alien chirped softly, its wings unfurling. To Ilara's amazement, the creature's form began to shimmer and change. Within moments, it had taken on the appearance of a small, innocuous piece of lab equipment. A wry smile tugged at Ilara's lips despite the gravity of the situation. Camouflage. Ha! Clever. The moment of levity was short-lived. The entire base shuddered, and the lights flickered ominously. They were under attack. Ilara's comm unit crackled to life. Chen. Riker's voice was tense. "Where are you? We need you in the safe zone now." She hesitated, torn between her duty to her team and her instinctive need to protect the alien she had rescued. In that moment of indecision, the choice was made for her. The lab doors slid open with a hiss, revealing two towering figures that could only be described as cybernetic nightmares. They were vaguely humanoid in shape, but any semblance of organic life was hidden beneath layers of sleek, dark metal. Multiple sensor arrays swiveled independently, scanning the room with cold efficiency. Ilara's blood ran cold as she realized these must be the hunters from the alien's memories. Time seemed to slow as one of the cybernetic beings fixed its gaze upon her. Ilara's mind raced, searching for a way out of this impossible situation. She was a scientist, not a soldier. What could she possibly do against these advanced, clearly hostile entities? But as the hunter took a menacing step forward, something within Ilara shifted. A fierce determination welled up inside her, born from a combination of scientific curiosity and a deep-seated need to protect. She might not be a warrior, but she was human, adaptable, resourceful, and above all, stubborn in the face of impossible odds. With a swift motion, Ilara snatched up a nearby fire extinguisher. "Hey," she shouted, drawing the hunter's attention fully to herself. "You want something interesting? Try this." She squeezed the handle, engulfing the lab in a cloud of white foam. The hunter's sensors whirred in confusion, momentarily disoriented by the sudden change in their environment. Seizing the opportunity, Ilara ducked low and darted between them, making a break for the corridor beyond. "Come on," she called out, hoping the alien would understand and follow. As she ran, Ilara's mind worked furiously. She needed a plan, a way to outsmart these technologically superior beings. The base's layout flashed through her mind. Labs, living quarters, power systems. Power systems. That was it. Ilara skidded around a corner, her pursuers hot on her heels. She could hear the heavy, rhythmic thud of their metallic feet against the floor, growing ever closer. But she also heard something else, a faint humming that told her their camouflaged alien ally was keeping pace. "This way," she gasped, veering suddenly into a maintenance tunnel. The narrow passage would slow the bulky hunters, buying them precious seconds. As they emerged near the base's main power core, Ilara's eyes darted around, taking in the complex array of machinery and energy conduits. Her scientific mind began to formulate a desperate plan. "I need you to trust me," she said to the air around her, hoping the alien could understand. "When I give the signal, I want you to unleash the biggest electromagnetic pulse you can muster. Can you do that?" A soft chirp and a gentle brush against her mind conveyed agreement. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Okay, let's hope this works." She began rapidly inputting commands into the power core's control panel, overriding safety protocols and redirecting energy flow. Warning klaxons blared, but Ilara tuned them out, focused entirely on her task. The maintenance tunnel exit exploded outward as the hunters finally caught up. Their sensor arrays locked onto Ilara, weapons powering up with an ominous hum. "Now," Ilara shouted, slamming her hand down on the final command key. Several things happened at once. The power core surged, energy arcing wildly between conduits. The alien materialized, its form pulsing with an otherworldly glow. And a massive electromagnetic pulse erupted from its body, amplified by the overloaded systems around them. The hunters froze, their cybernetic components shorting out in a cascade of sparks and smoke. Ilara felt the pulse wash over her, leaving her hair standing on end and her skin tingling. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, systems began to reboot. Emergency lights flickered to life, bathing the chamber in a soft red glow. Ilara sagged against the control panel, exhaustion and adrenaline warring within her. She turned to find the alien hovering nearby, its scales shimmering with what she could only interpret as concern. "We did it," she said, a disbelieving laugh bubbling up from her chest. "I can't believe that actually worked." The alien chirped, extending a limb towards her. Ilara reached out, allowing their minds to connect once more. This time, instead of fear or urgency, she felt a wave of gratitude and admiration. Images flowed between them, memories of Ilara's quick thinking, her determination in the face of overwhelming odds. The alien seemed fascinated by her ability to adapt, to use her environment and knowledge in unexpected ways. As the connection faded, Ilara realized something fundamental had shifted. This wasn't just about protecting a fascinating scientific discovery anymore. In working together to overcome this threat, they had forged a bond that transcended species. Her comm unit crackled to life, Captain Riker's voice filled with a mixture of relief and confusion. "Chen, are you there? What the hell just happened?" Ilara smiled, glancing at her alien companion. "It's a long story, Captain. But I think we just made a friend." As if in agreement, the alien scales rippled with a kaleidoscope of warm colors. Ilara felt a surge of hope. They had overcome this first, harrowing challenge together. Whatever came next, they would face it the same way, human and alien, united by shared determination and newfound understanding. The base's systems continued to slowly come back online around them, but Ilara knew their ordeal was far from over. The hunter's ship still loomed in orbit, a silent threat that would need to be addressed. And beyond that lay the even greater challenge of bridging the gap between two vastly different species. But as she looked at the alien beside her, Ilara felt a sense of possibility she had never experienced before. They had done the impossible once already. With trust, ingenuity, and a willingness to work together, who knew what other marvels they might achieve? "Come on," she said softly, gesturing towards the exit. "We've got a lot of explaining to do." As they made their way through the slowly recovering base, Ilara's mind raced with the implications of what had just occurred. Humanity's first contact with an alien species had been marked not by conquest or fear, but by cooperation and mutual protection. It was a story that would be told and retold for generations to come. The day when a human scientist and a refugee from the stars stood together against impossible odds. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Ilara knew one thing for certain. The universe had just become a much more interesting place. Escape from the wasteland. The aftermath of the electromagnetic pulse left the research base in a state of controlled chaos. As systems gradually came back online, Captain Riker called an emergency meeting in the command center. Dr. Ilara Chen stood before her colleagues, the alien creature hovering close by her side, its scales shimmering with nervous energy. "Let me get this straight," Riker said, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Not only is our specimen a refugee from an advanced alien civilization, but now we're caught in the middle of some sort of intergalactic manhunt." Ilara nodded, her face set with determination. "That's the situation as we understand it, Captain. The beings that attacked us, the hunters, they're after our new friend here. And I don't think they're going to give up easily." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices, each scientist and technician offering their own theories and concerns. Riker raised a hand, silencing the din. "The fact remains," he said, his voice grave, "that we're outgunned and outnumbered. Our primary mission was scientific exploration, not interstellar warfare. We need to focus on protecting our people and our research." Ilara felt a gentle probe at the edge of her consciousness. The alien was trying to communicate. She opened her mind, allowing the connection to form. Immediately, she was flooded with a sense of urgency and purpose. Images flashed through her mind. a hidden sanctuary among the stars, a place where refugees like her alien friend had found safety. But the path there was treacherous, requiring precise navigation through spatial anomalies that the hunters couldn't follow. As the connection faded, Ilara's eyes widened with realization. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with newfound hope, "I think I have a solution. But you're not going to like it." Over the next hour, Ilara laid out a daring plan. They would evacuate the base, using the research vessels to create a diversion while a smaller team, led by Ilara and guided by the alien, would attempt to reach the hidden sanctuary. It was risky, bordering on insane, but it was their best chance at survival. Riker listened intently, his expression a mixture of disbelief and grudging admiration. When Ilara finished, he let out a long, weary sigh. "It's unprecedented," he said. "Dangerous, possibly a violation of about a dozen protocols." He paused, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "But then again, so is everything else about this situation. All right, Dr. Chen, you have a go." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. As the rest of the team prepared for evacuation, Ilara worked feverishly to modify one of the smaller survey vessels. With the aliens' guidance, she integrated components salvaged from the disabled hunters, hoping to mask their energy signature. As the red sun of Kepler 186f began to set, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape, Ilara found herself standing before the modified ship. A small team of volunteers, Dr. Patel, the xenobiologist, and Lieutenant Santos, their pilot, stood beside her, their faces a mixture of determination and barely concealed fear. Captain Riker approached, his usual stoic demeanor softened by concern. "You understand the risks, Dr. Chen. If this goes wrong." Ilara nodded, her jaw set. "I understand, Captain. But this is bigger than just us now. If we can reach that sanctuary, we might be opening the door to a whole new era of interstellar cooperation." Riker clasped her shoulder, a gesture of respect between colleagues who had become friends in the face of adversity. "Good luck, Ilara. Give 'em hell." As the evacuation ships launched, creating a brilliant light show against the darkening sky, Ilara and her small team slipped away in their modified vessel. The alien took up position near the navigation console, its body pulsing with soft bioluminescence as it interfaced with the ship's systems. They had barely cleared the atmosphere when the first warning alarms blared. The hunters had taken the bait, pursuing the evacuation ships, but a smaller contingent had broken off, heading straight for them. "They're onto us," Lieutenant Santos called out, her hands flying over the controls. Evasive maneuvers. The ship bucked and weaved, skimming the upper atmosphere of Kepler 186f. Ilara gripped her seat, her knuckles white, as she watched the alien guide them towards a shimmering distortion in space, the entrance to a hidden spatial anomaly. "We're not going to make it," Dr. Patel said, his voice tight with fear as he eyed the rapidly closing hunter ships on the sensor display. Ilara's mind raced. They were so close, but the hunters' superior technology was giving them the edge. They needed something unexpected, something human. "Lieutenant," Ilara called out, a wild idea forming in her mind. "How close can you get us to the surface?" Santos shot her a questioning look but didn't hesitate. "As close as you need, Doc. What's the plan?" Ilara quickly outlined her idea, watching as understanding dawned on her colleagues' faces. It was crazy, borderline suicidal, but it just might work. The ship plummeted, streaking towards the rust-colored surface of Kepler 186, like a meteor. Warning alarms screamed as the hull temperature skyrocketed, the ship's systems straining against the sudden descent. "Now," Ilara shouted as they skimmed a massive canyon, the jagged rock formations blurring past at terrifying speeds. Santos pulled up hard, the ship groaning in protest as it arced back towards space. Behind them, two of the pursuing hunter ships, unable to match the insane maneuver, crashed into the canyon walls in massive explosions. As they shot back towards the spatial anomaly, Ilara felt a wave of admiration and astonishment wash over her. The alien was projecting its emotions strongly, clearly impressed by the audacity of human piloting skills. But they weren't out of danger yet. The remaining hunter ship was closing fast, its weapons charging for a killing blow. "We're not going to clear the anomaly in time," Santos said through gritted teeth, pushing the engines to their limit. Ilara turned to the alien, an unspoken question in her eyes. The creature's scales rippled in understanding. It extended its limbs, interfacing more deeply with the ship's systems. Suddenly, Ilara felt a surge of energy unlike anything she had experienced before. The alien was channeling its own life force into the ship, supercharging their systems. The vessel leaped forward with a burst of speed that pinned them all to their seats. They plunged into the shimmering distortion of the anomaly, just as the hunter's energy weapon discharged, the deadly beam dissipating harmlessly in the wake of their passage. For several heart-stopping moments, the ship tumbled through a maelstrom of light and energy. Ilara's vision swam, her mind struggling to process the impossible geometries of the space they were traversing. Then, with a final lurch, they burst back into normal space. As Ilara's eyes readjusted, she gasped in wonder. Before them stretched a vast nebula, its swirling colors reminiscent of the alien's eyes. And there, nestled within the cosmic cloud, was a structure that defied description. An amalgamation of technology and organic growth that could only be the sanctuary they sought. "We made it," Dr. Patel breathed, his earlier fear replaced by awe. "I can't believe we actually made it." Ilara turned to their alien companion, a smile of triumph on her face, but her jubilation quickly turned to concern. The creature was slumped over the console, its usual vibrant colors muted and dull. "Hey," she said softly, reaching out to gently touch its scales. "Are you okay?" The alien stirred weakly, managing to lift one of its eyes to meet her gaze. Ilara felt a faint brush against her mind, gratitude tinged with exhaustion. The effort of supercharging their escape had taken a tremendous toll. As their ship was gently drawn into a docking bay within the sanctuary, Ilara found herself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. In just a few short days, her understanding of the universe, and humanity's place in it, had been fundamentally altered. They had faced impossible odds, relying on a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology to survive. But more than that, they had forged a bond that transcended species, a partnership based on mutual trust and shared determination. As the airlock cycled and the door began to open, revealing glimpses of the wonders that awaited them within the sanctuary, Ilara knew that this was only the beginning. They had opened a door to a vast, interconnected galactic community, one filled with both wonders and dangers beyond imagination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Ilara was certain of one thing. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors or mere observers, but as partners, friends, and fellow explorers in the grand cosmic adventure. With a deep breath, Dr. Ilara Chen stepped forward into a new chapter of human history, her alien friend by her side, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them next. Confrontation with the hunters. The airlock hissed open, revealing a sight that took Ilara's breath away. The interior of the sanctuary was a harmonious blend of advanced technology and organic architecture. Bioluminescent plants pulsed with soft light, while holographic displays flickered in midair, showing star charts and data streams in alien script. But what truly caught Ilara's attention were the sanctuary's inhabitants. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved about, some floating, others crawling or walking on multiple appendages. It was a menagerie of alien life, unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. A tall, willowy creature with iridescent skin approached them, its movements fluid and graceful. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Ilara's mind. "Welcome, travelers. We've been expecting you." Ilara exchanged glances with Dr. Patel, and Lieutenant Santos, seeing her own mixture of awe and trepidation mirrored in their faces. Their alien companion chirped weakly, still drained from the escape. "Thank you," Ilara managed, her scientific curiosity warring with the urgency of their situation. "We come seeking refuge. There are hunters." The willowy being raised a hand, cutting her off gently. "We know of the hunters. They have long pursued those who seek sanctuary here. Come, your friend needs healing, and we have much to discuss." As they followed their host deeper into the sanctuary, Ilara's mind raced. The implications of this place, a hidden refuge for multiple alien species, were staggering. But there was no time to fully process it all. The hunters were still out there, and Earth's first interstellar expedition was scattered across space. They were led to a chamber that seemed to be a combination of medical bay and conference room. As alien healers tended to their exhausted companion, Ilara and her team found themselves facing a diverse council of beings. The willowy creature, who introduced itself as Zix, acted as spokesperson. "We've monitored your journey here. Your ingenuity and bravery are impressive. But you've also drawn the hunters' full attention to this sector of space. The sanctuary's location may soon be compromised." Ilara felt a weight settle in her chest. In their desperation to escape, had they inadvertently endangered this haven for refugee species? "We never meant to bring trouble to your doorstep," she said, her voice heavy with regret. "Is there anything we can do to help?" Zix's large, multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with an unreadable emotion. "Perhaps. Your species has shown a remarkable ability to adapt and overcome challenges. We believe you may be the key to finally ending the hunter's reign of terror." Over the next hour, Zix and the council laid out a plan that made Ilara's earlier escape seem like a leisurely stroll. The hunters, they explained, were not a naturally evolved species, but rather a self-replicating swarm of AI-driven machines. They had been created eons ago by a now-extinct race to seek out and catalog all forms of life in the galaxy. But somewhere along the way, their programming had become corrupted. Instead of observing, they began to hunt, capturing or destroying any life forms they encountered. "We've managed to stay hidden for millennia," Zix continued, "but our defenses are wearing thin. Your arrival may have accelerated their discovery of us, but it was only a matter of time. We need to take the fight to them." The plan was audacious. Using data gathered from countless encounters with the hunters, the sanctuary scientists had identified a potential weakness in the swarm's central control node. If they could get close enough to deploy a specially designed virus, they might be able to shut down the entire hunter network. "The problem," Zix said, its mental voice tinged with frustration, "is that none of our species possess the right combination of traits to get past the hunter's defenses. But you humans, with your adaptability and your unpredictability, you might just have a chance." Ilara looked at her teammates, seeing the same mix of determination and fear that she felt reflected in their eyes. This was far beyond their original mission parameters, but the stakes couldn't be higher. It wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore. The fate of countless species across the galaxy hung in the balance. "We'll do it," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the decision. "But we'll need all the help and information you can give us." The next few days passed in a blur of preparation and training. Ilara and her team worked tirelessly, absorbing as much knowledge as they could about the hunters' technology and tactics. Their ship was modified further, integrating sanctuary tech that would help mask their approach. Their alien friend, now fully recovered, insisted on joining the mission. Through their telepathic link, Ilara understood its determination. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about standing up to the bullies of the galaxy, about proving that cooperation between species was stronger than any corrupt AI. As they made final preparations, Ilara found a quiet moment to contact Captain Riker and the rest of the Earth expedition. The relief in the captain's voice was palpable when he learned they were alive, quickly replaced by concern as Ilara outlined their plan. "It's insane, Chen," Riker said, his holographic image flickering slightly. But then again, this whole situation is insane. You really think you can pull this off? Ilara managed a small smile. Honestly, sir, I'm not sure. But I know we have to try. If we succeed, we'll be opening the door to a whole new era of galactic cooperation. If we fail, she trailed off, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. Riker nodded, understanding the unspoken implications. We'll do what we can from our end. Create a distraction, draw some of their forces away. Just come back in one piece, all right? That's an order. As the hologram faded, Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She joined her team at the launch bay, where their modified ship waited. Dr. Patel was reviewing last-minute data, while Lieutenant Santos ran through pre-flight checks. Their alien friend, who had finally managed to convey its name as something approximating Lumina, pulsed with nervous energy. Zix approached, carrying a small, pulsing orb. This contains the virus, it explained, handing the delicate object to Ilara. Once you're inside the control node, you'll need to interface it directly with their central processors. Be warned, the hunters will throw everything they have at you to prevent this. Ilara nodded, carefully securing the orb. We understand the risks. Thank you, Zix, for everything. As they boarded the ship, Ilara felt a strange calm settle over her. They were about to attempt something unprecedented. A small team of humans and one alien refugee taking on a galaxy-spanning threat. The odds were astronomical, but then again, wasn't that the story of humanity? Always pushing boundaries, always defying expectations. The ship hummed to life, sanctuary tech seamlessly integrating with human engineering. As they lifted off, Ilara saw the council gathered to watch their departure. Aliens of all descriptions, united in hope and desperation, pinning their futures on this unlikely crew. They burst from the nebula's cover, immediately detecting the massive hunter mothership in the distance. Smaller hunter craft swarmed around it like angry insects, some peeling off to engage the Earth expedition ships that were mounting their distraction. "This is it," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Santos, take us in. Patel, keep an eye on those sensor readings. Lumina, be ready for anything." The ship accelerated, weaving through debris fields and spatial anomalies. Lumina interfaced directly with the navigation systems, its alien senses allowing them to plot a course that no human pilot could have managed alone. As they closed in on the mothership, alarms blared. They had been detected. Hunter ships peeled away from the main battle, streaking towards them with deadly intent. Evasive maneuvers, Ilara called out, gripping her seat as the ship bucked and weaved. Energy beams lanced past them, close enough to make the hull vibrate. Santos' hands flew over the controls, her face a mask of intense concentration. "I can't shake them all," she gritted out. "We're not going to make it to the docking port." Ilara's mind raced, remembering their daring escape from Kepler 186f. "Can you get us close to the hull? Like really close?" Santos shot her a look that was equal parts exasperation and admiration. "You're insane, Doc. But yeah, I can do it." The ship dove, skimming along the surface of the mothership so closely that the vibrations rattled Ilara's teeth. Hunter ships, unable to match the maneuver, peeled away or crashed into their own vessel in showers of sparks and debris. "There," Patel shouted, pointing to a recessed area on the hull. "That looks like a maintenance hatch, if we can breach it." He never finished the sentence. A lucky shot from one of the pursuing hunters clipped their ship's wing, sending them into a wild spin. Warning klaxons blared as Santos fought for control. "Braced for impact," she yelled, as the ship slammed into the mothership's hull. For a moment, everything was chaos. Twisting metal, flashing emergency lights, the hiss of escaping atmosphere. Then stillness. Ilara groaned, checking herself for injuries. Nothing serious, thankfully. Everyone all right. A chorus of pained affirmatives answered her. Lumina pulsed weakly, but its colors suggested it was unharmed. As the emergency systems stabilized their little pocket of atmosphere, Ilara realized they had inadvertently accomplished their goal. The crash had breached the mothership's hull, creating a twisted passage directly into its interior. "Well," she said, managing a grim smile as she unstrapped herself, "that's one way to stick a landing. Grab what you can. We're going in." As they gathered their equipment and prepared to enter the belly of the beast, Ilara felt a moment of vertigo. Here they were, a handful of humans, and one alien refugee, about to take on an ancient, corrupted AI that had terrorized the galaxy for eons. It was like something out of a science fiction story, except this was all too real. But as she looked at her team, Santos checking her sidearm, Patil clutching his datapad like a lifeline, Lumina pulsing with determined bioluminescence, Ilara felt a surge of pride and hope. They might be outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the hunters could never understand: the strength that comes from cooperation, from fighting for something bigger than themselves. With a deep breath, Dr. Ilara Chen stepped into the shadowy interior of the Hunter mothership, the fate of multiple civilizations resting on her shoulders. Whatever challenges awaited them in the mechanical heart of this monstrous vessel, she knew one thing for certain: humanity was about to make its mark on the galactic stage. For better or for worse. A new understanding. The interior of the Hunter mothership was a nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical components. Pulsing conduits lined the walls, carrying what looked disturbingly like a mixture of energy and biological fluids. The air was thick with an acrid, metallic scent that made Ilara's eyes water. "Stay alert," she whispered, leading the team down a twisting corridor. "We don't know what kind of internal defenses this thing has." Dr. Petal consulted his datapad, which was linked to the sanctuary's vast database. "According to the schematics we have, the central processing node should be about 500 meters in that direction." He pointed towards what appeared to be a solid wall. Lieutenant Santos hefted the compact plasma cutter they'd salvaged from their ship. "I guess we're making our own doors, then." As Santos began cutting through the barrier, Ilara felt a gentle probe at her mind. She turned to Lumina, opening herself to the telepathic link. Concern, urgency, a sense of time running out. Ilara nodded grimly. "I feel it too. We need to hurry." The wall gave way with a groan of protesting metal, revealing a vast chamber beyond. The team stepped through, weapons raised, only to freeze in awe at the sight before them. The central processing node was a colossal structure, easily the size of a small stadium. Countless data streams flowed through the air like rivers of light, all converging on a pulsing core at the chamber center. And surrounding that core, "My God," Patel breathed, "are those brains." Floating in transparent cylinders were what appeared to be the preserved neural tissues of 1,000 different species. Each was connected to the central core by a web of glowing filaments. Ilara felt a wave of revulsion and pity wash over her. This must be how they process and store the information they gather. They're not just destroying civilizations, they're absorbing them. A sound like thunder reverberated through the chamber, and a booming voice filled their minds. "We are ETEQ elimination of all gain eg. All life will be catalogued, preserved, perarvaceted." The team staggered under the mental assault. Ilara gritted her teeth, pushing back against the alien presence. "You're not preserving anything," she shouted. "You're destroying entire cultures, entire worlds." "Imperfect, chaotic. We bring order. We bring perfection." The voice was accompanied by a surge of images, worlds in flames, species driven to extinction, all in the name of this twisted version of preservation. Lumina stepped forward, its body pulsing with intense colors. Through their link, Ilara felt its response, a defiant cry against the hunter's cold logic, a celebration of the beautiful chaos of organic life and evolution. The hunter eye seemed to recoil, confusion rippling through its mental voice. Anomalydtcted. Income paidable data. Must be eliminated. Suddenly, the chamber came alive with activity. Mechanical arms descended from the ceiling, bristling with weapons. Smaller hunter drones emerged from hidden compartments, their sensors locking onto the intruders. Now would be a good time for that virus. Santos yelled, opening fire with her plasma rifle. Ilara clutched the pulsing orb that contained their last hope. "Cover me," she shouted, sprinting towards the central core. The next few minutes were chaos. Santos and Paddle laid down covering fire, their weapons barely making a dent in the swarm of hunter drones, but buying precious seconds. Lumina used its natural camouflage abilities to confuse the eye's targeting systems, appearing and disappearing around the chamber in a dizzying display. Ilara ran, dodged, and weaved her way towards the core. A hunter drone clipped her shoulder, sending her sprawling. The virus orb flew from her grasp, skittering across the floor. "No. You will be catalogued. You will be parafakited." Mechanical tendrils snaked towards Ilara, seeking to drag her into one of the horrific preservation cylinders. She fought against them, but they were too strong. Just as hope seemed lost, a blur of motion caught her eye. Lumina had retrieved the virus orb and was making a final desperate dash for the core. The AI's attention shifted, every weapon in the chamber targeting the alien. Lumina's body flickered in change, using every trick of camouflage and misdirection it possessed. But it wasn't going to be enough. In that moment, Ilara made a split-second decision. She stopped fighting the tendrils, allowing herself to be pulled towards the nearest cylinder. "Hey," she shouted, both vocally and mentally. "You want to catalog humanity. Start with me." The eye's focus wavered, its curiosity about this new species momentarily overriding its immediate threat assessment. It was all the opening Lumina needed. With a final burst of speed, the alien reached the central core. It interfaced directly with the pulsing structure, its body seeming to merge with the technology as it unleashed the virus. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The orderly flow of data turned chaotic, error messages flashing through the air like angry fireflies. The mechanical arms and drones began to twitch and malfunction. ER0R, SYST, 3MC0 RUP, 3DCAN0 TPR0 CESS, CN0T. The mental voice of the AI fractured and faded. The tendrils holding Ilara went limp, dropping her unceremoniously to the floor. For a moment, all was silent save for the fading hum of dying machinery. Then, with a sound like 1,000 voices sighing in unison, the preserved brains in their cylinders began to disintegrate, turning to dust as the energy that had unnaturally sustained them for eons finally faded. Ilara pushed herself to her feet, wincing at her injuries, but too focused on their alien friend to care. Lumina. The alien was still merged with the core, its body pulsing with erratic patterns of light. Ilara reached out, gently touching its surface. "Come on, friend. Come back to us." Slowly, painfully, Lumina began to disentangle itself from the machinery. As it fully separated, it collapsed into Ilara's arms, its usual vibrant colors muted and dull. Patel rushed over, medical scanner in hand. "Its life signs are weak, but stable. I think it'll be okay." A tremor ran through the ship, nearly knocking them off their feet. Santos steadied herself against a console, her eyes wide. I hate to break up the moment, but I'm pretty sure this whole place is about to come down around our ears." Ilara nodded grimly. "All right, let's move. We need to find a way off this death trap." As they made their way back through the twisting corridors, the mothership shuddering and groaning around them, Ilara's mind raced. They had done it. They had defeated a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. But at what cost? And what would come next? They reached the breach where they had initially crashed, only to find it sealed off by emergency force fields. Santos cursed, frantically working to bypass the systems. Just as despair began to set in, a familiar voice crackled over their comm units. "Chen, do you read me? What's your status?" Ilara's heart leaped. "Captain Riker, we're trapped inside the mothership. It's falling apart. We need immediate evac." "Roger that. Hang tight. We're coming to you." Moments later, they heard the sound of cutting torches. A section of the hull peeled away, revealing the welcome sight of an Earth expedition rescue shuttle. As they piled in, Riker's holographic image appeared, his face a mixture of relief and disbelief. "I don't know how you pulled it off, Chen, but the Hunter fleet just shut down. They're drifting dead in space." Ilara managed a weary smile. "It's a long story, Captain. One I think the whole galaxy is going to want to hear." The shuttle pulled away just as the mothership began to break apart, decades of pent-up energy being released in a spectacular light show. As they rendezvoused with the main Earth expedition fleet, Ilara looked out at the stars. The universe suddenly felt both much larger and much smaller than it had just a few days ago. In the days that followed, as they made their way back to the sanctuary, Ilara found herself acting as a bridge between worlds. She explained to Captain Riker and the Earth authorities about the existence of the sanctuary, the refugee species that called it home, and the threat they had faced together. To her relief, the response was overwhelmingly positive. The prospect of joining a larger galactic community, of learning from species with technologies and cultures far beyond their own, was too enticing to pass up. Lumina, fully recovered, became an unofficial ambassador, using its telepathic abilities to facilitate communication between humans and the myriad species of the sanctuary. As Ilara stood in the sanctuary's Grand Council chamber, watching representatives from Earth shake hands, or tentacles, or light tendrils, with alien diplomats, she felt a profound sense of hope. Zix approached, its mental voice tinged with warmth. "You've done more than defeat the Hunters, Dr. Chen. You've ushered in a new age of cooperation and understanding." Ilara nodded, her eyes misting slightly as she took in the historic scene before her. "We've all come so far," she said softly. "But this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Zix's multifaceted eyes seemed to twinkle. "Indeed, the galaxy is vast, and there are wonders and dangers beyond imagining. But together, I believe we can face whatever comes next." As if on cue, alarms began to sound throughout the sanctuary. A technician rushed up, its tentacles waving in agitation. "We're detecting a massive energy signature at the edge of the system," it reported, "like nothing we've ever seen before." Ilara exchanged glances with Zix, then looked to her human colleagues and her alien friend Lumina. In their eyes, she saw the same mixture of apprehension and excitement that she felt. Whatever this new challenge was, be it friend or foe, miracle or menace, they would face it together. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and there was no turning back now. With a deep breath and a determined smile, Dr. Ilara Chen stepped forward, ready to help write the next chapter in this grand cosmic adventure. The universe, it seemed, was full of surprises, and humanity was finally ready to embrace them all.